Okay, so essentially I'll just run you through it, tell you what it does, and work with it in a certain way. So it's just like any other Adobe product. You've got your palettes on the right here, kind of menu functions at the top here, and a kind of authoring environment over here. You don't? Oh, okay. If you look at the top here, just on the right there, switch it from designer to classic. So just at the top right.
Taught ourselves in the 90s.
This is the easiest one to work with. The rest are nonsense. Not that you'll ever come back to this program, probably. But yeah, so we have the palettes here, menu items here, as usual, and then you've got a contextual bar here for adding content, which I'll explain in a minute. And if you've used things like Flash or what have you, you've got like a properties inspector down here. It allows you to edit content directly. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is just go ahead and open that HTML that Andrew exported. So website 01 or whatever you've called it, isn't it? Desktop.
Best website ever.
I suppose if you say it often enough, it's true. Open. And then you'll see it make more sense. So here is, like, if you like, the canvas, and then you'll see this bar down here will change as we select and move things around in here. Okay, so a couple of things. So we've got these little buttons here. So there's a design view, so you can work completely just with moving things around, grabbing them and moving them, and it will write the code for you. I'd always recommend working in split. It's kind of how you learn what's going on if you're interested. So this is the visuals, how it's going to look, and this is what's going on in the background. So this is the code that Photoshop, the HTML that Photoshop wrote for you. And if you're a sadist, you can just work in code. And so
little spaces.
What Dreamweaver is what we call a WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. It allows you to edit code without having to look at it. So you probably want to work in split and go here. And what I'd like you to do is just kind of click on something in the design area, and then just keep a note of what's going on down here on the properties inspector. So you'll see the image name and source will change. Okay, so this thing down here is contextual. Each thing you select, it will give you the properties for that, and as you add text, you can format it using this, etc., etc. Okay. So it basically you can edit visually. Okay, so what I want to do is kind of leave that for now, and if I just return to the just quit Photoshop. But if you just remember how it was designed in Photoshop, there was a sort of banner and then columns for text. What I want to do is just kind of guide you through making that in Dreamweaver, straight in it, and then thinking about just putting the graphics in secondarily. So if you want to write a good clean website that you know how to edit afterwards, this is the way that you probably want to do it. Okay, so if you just make a new document, so Command N and just choose HTML, click OK, you'll see it'll just have a blank canvas for you. We're just going to use the design option, we're not going to look at the code just yet. Okay, so this is the visible area for your website. And the easiest way to make a framework to put stuff in is to just draw it straight in. And it means that you can kind of see it visually and you can tweak the sizes later. So if you look at the top line here, you'll see that there's some little tabs. And I'll just run you through. This is why I use Classic, because these are really useful. You'll see there's a common tab, and if you just hover over each of these, you can see it's quick ways for setting hyperlinks and emails. There's a little, I don't know why they decided that a tree was representative of images.
You'd have to put a picture of a tree in there.
An image of a tree. Oh yeah, or they could have put a face. I don't know. Anyway, there you go. If you click on the down arrow there, you can put in rollover images, etc. Then this modernist abstraction is media.
Shockwave.
Shockwave.
Wow.
So it's pretty flash orientated, isn't it? Which is interesting.
It's a bit 90s already.
Yeah.
So you put a flash animation in there?
Yeah.
What's the latest
You
version?
can embed flash or flash video.
CS6.
And then all of these things do different things. So that's for just inserting content. If you just flick over to the layout bit there, you'll see even more abstract symbols. We're going to forget all of them apart from this one. So the third one along, you hover over it, it says Draw AP Div. And just something to remember, that the div is the container, so they call these boxes divs. Okay, so we're just going to draw boxes. So if you just click on that and then hover over the canvas there, you'll see it turns to a kind of crosshair, and you can just click and drag, and it will make a container for you. Okay. Just to let you know that it's really annoying because it's not selected. Although it's highlighted in blue, it's not selected. So if you just hover over an edge and it turns to a hand there and click it, you'll notice that the bottom here changes and it gives you all the dimensions for that box. So it will give it a default name here, bottom left, APDiv1, which will change to banner. And then it will give you its left and top coordinates, so L and T, and its width and height. So let's just say we're going to have something that's centered top left. We'll put 0 and 0 in for L and T. And let's just say we want a banner of 800 wide by 200 high. Okay, another important thing, annoyance with Dreamweaver, always have the PXs in. So it gets confused if it's 200 and nothing. So it's 200 PX, 800 PX, 0. Okay, and so once you've done that, you can go back to your AP Div, drawing tool, zoom out a little bit, and start to draw the rest of your grid. So if you imagine we're going to do a bog standard navigation on the left, just click that, give it a name, nav, and then you can do a little bit of math, so it's going to be left 0 and top 200 or 201. I'm going to make it width of 100 and a height of 400. And away you go. So just like you would with a page design, you'd have a grid, hopefully. You work it all out, the sizes, go to Dreamweaver, draw it out, name it, give it its sizes, make sure it's looking kind of tight, and then you can just start to insert your stuff in, and it's as easy as that. So what's it doing in the background? So if you just click over into the code element, you don't have to understand any of this. It's basically you're working in the visual. In the background, it's writing the HTML for you, and you'll see here the names that we've given it. It's just inserted it into the div containers, and this HTML is basically written as a direct result of what you're doing in the design element. Something you'll maybe know about, but is really important, just at the top here, so this bit that's in pink, you'll see it says style. This is a style sheet. So way back in the 90s, where we didn't have style sheets, it was a real pig to edit pages. Like you had a big website and you had to sort of change all the background colours to black. You had to go to each page and change each container. What a style sheet allows you to do is write rules once and apply them to lots of pages straight away. So you can take this style sheet out, put it in a document and link it to lots of web pages, and it will change all those styles. So essentially what it's doing is it's taking the instructions from your property inspector and it's just writing them in a list for you. So it looks pretty scary, but it's really simple. So we had banner, and then we said position left naught, top naught, width this, etc., etc. So it's just writing a list of instructions. The Z index there, you probably won't have to deal with that, but that's for stacking. So later on in the web, you could stack things on top of each other, and if you had a ping PNG, it was stacked on top, it had transparency, you'd be able to see through to an underneath web element. So
that's the Z plane.
that's the
so
Z.
3D.
Yeah, it's the Z plane. So that's what's happening. There's two things. It's writing the style sheet for you and the containers for all the stuff. So, am I going too quickly? Grand. Although that was just one person.
Yeah, it's fine.
Great. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to go and... Grand. I am a dad, that's my excuse. So what we want to do is just kind of... We want to do two things now. We want to make Dreamweaver look at the folder that Andrew made and that you've made and get it to show up in this little panel down on the right. So if you haven't got this thing called Files open, go to Window and you'll see there's a little Files option. If you click that, what happens is it'll show you your website folder. So you don't ever have to leave Dreamweaver to look at things, it's all there in one place. At the moment, we haven't got it pointing at that folder, so we'll do that first. We'll get that web folder to show up in the Files panel. And then we can just go from the Files panel and put images into these boxes and what have you. Okay, so if you go to just the top here, you'll see Site. You can just go onto New Site, click that. You get this handy little dialog box. What you're doing is you're pointing Dreamweaver to that site, and what's really important is that site then becomes what we call your root folder for your actual website. So how you work in Dreamweaver is you make everything on your computer exactly how you want it to be on the web, and I'll show you this at the end, and then once you're happy with that, you just upload that whole folder to your server as is, so it mirrors what's on your desktop. So when you're working in your site folder on your desktop, it's really important to do two things. Give it names that are useful, like the best website ever, not untitled. And when you're sticking your images in there, give them names that are useful. So home button or home butt, home butt over, you know, those kinds of things. Another thing that's really important is when we name things, never leave a space. So how a browser works is it tries to find images through folders. So when you go to a website, the browser looks at your server, goes to the root folder. If it needs to find an image, it goes to the images folder, / go to navigation images, / look for home. If there's a space in that URL, you get what we call a broken link. No, not quite error 4. That's catastrophic. No, you'll just, sometimes you don't see it much now. You saw it a lot in the 90s, an image space with a little kind of cross in it. That's basically someone's got a space in their URL. So, two really mega important things. Filing and naming, and no spaces. So, I'm just going to call this Duff's Mega Site. As a site name. This site name is just local, so you don't have to worry about this one. And then you just see local site folder, click on the little file icon, and navigate to desktop. Where is it? The. And just choose. Okay, and that's all you have to do. And you'll see this little file panel changes, and you should see all your images in the folder, plus the little bit of HTML that you've sent from Photoshop, etc., etc. Okay, so that's really good. You can then just work locally. So, in terms of naming conventions, there aren't any for this test. We can try and look for your banner and insert it into here. So just on the files panel there, you'll see next to it there's an assets pane.
Sorry, press the link.
Yeah, of course. You can just slide that up, and you can just click through your images and it should show you in your assets pane which ones they are. Is that working? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, so you can see them.
And you can just use the up arrow. Is that it? Can't quite see.
So
That doesn't have a real banner.
the
You didn't
closest-
have a real banner.
No, the closest to it was website.
Okay, so we're looking just for the website image.
It was up at the top.
There you go. Okay, so it's index 02 GIF. Okay, so there's a couple of ways that we can just insert it into here. Don't worry about the size because it will accommodate the website thing. That was just to show you how to make a box. We can either do it the long way, so you can go to the Common tab, go to your tree symbol, yeah, insert an image, or as has correctly been pointed out, you can just drag it from here to here. It'll pop up with this box. This is quite important. So what alternate text is, it will, in the HTML, it will name the image. You can say banner GIF saying website, and it's for screen readers. So for people who are visually impaired, they won't see the images, but their browser will speak to them and it will tell them what that image should be. So it's really important to kind of get that right. So I'm just going to put banner image saying website, and then just click OK, and it'll insert it in here. Okay, so if you click on that little image there, you'll see your properties here changes, and it will give you the source, what the alternate text says, and the relevant size, etc., etc. So we've gone about this a bit cockeyed. When you're making your website, you'll jot down the measurements, and when you come to make the boxes, you'll make them the right size for the graphics. If you want to do it in Dreamweaver, if you don't want to face Dreamweaver, you want to make it all in Photoshop and then export it, that's fine too. Okay, so I can basically just go into this box now. And what was this size? So this was 6 by 4 by 43, so I can just click on that. And I can just change it in the Properties Inspector. And if you wanted to, you can just move the boxes physically around. So that's building it from another way. I do it this way. It's not the only way, but I think it's just the easiest because it means that you can make it visually. You don't really need to look at the code, but if you wanted to, you can see what it's doing. And after a while, I mean, in the beginning I taught myself Dreamweaver and CSS. After a while you get to understand what this is saying, and you'll find yourself jumping into that and just editing it because it's quicker, and that's quite satisfying really. So it's not unattainable. It's kind of quite achievable. Okay, so I just wanted to do one final thing. So if you think about these buttons that we've got, the over ones, so overs, and what have you, when you're doing your navigation, you probably want to just do it as images and then what we call a rollover image. So all that is when the mouse goes over a rollover image, it turns to hand and it flips. There's two images in that box and it flips them around. And the easiest way to do that is just to put a div in, so this box, and then instead of putting lots of little divs inside, you can just put in a table like you would in Word. And so if you go to the common element, you see there's a table option there. So just click inside your div that you want the table to go in, and then click on the table, just like Word. So we want 5 rows, 1 column. Let's go 100 wide for now. in pixels, so not 100%, 100 pixels. And then really important, you want to just turn off all the border thicknesses and spacing. So just put zeros in where it says border thickness and spacing, etc., etc. Okay, and you'll get this really horrible looking thing. You won't see this in the main thing. And then if you just click inside the cell, you can go to the insert image option again if you did before, and this time include rollover image. Okay, so just click that and it will guide you through. So what's the static image? That's your original where the web page is at rest. Now what would that be? This underscores the naming convention thing. So I'm just going to go for index 03, home. And then go to the overs 03 as my rollover. And then quite simply, the alternate text we looked at before, so that's telling people with screen readers what that graphic is. And then you can paste a URL either to an external website or another page in your site goes in the bottom. You don't have to do that now. Okay. Click OK. So you'll have noticed it said to make a document relevant path, save this. So we just need to save our page in our root folder. So just call this page 2 HTML. So notice no spaces, page -2. Okay, so it'll look like this. Now, all important, we want to see it working, don't we? So, final thing, if you want to test it, you'll see there's a little globe here. You can preview in Firefox or Chrome or whatever. Didn't work. Yeah, that does happen. Yeah, it happens with Firefox on this network. I don't know why. Try in Chrome.
Chrome don't work either.
Not working either.
Safari does.
If you were to do it at home, it would be fine. It's just how, I don't know what the deal is with how they've got it configured here. So Safari, eh? It's like a long lost friend.
Like Internet Explorer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you get it so you can't see the...
It is, it's like your granny.
Oh yeah, so that's in your, when you were doing the cell spacing and whatever, there's a border in the table. So if you wanted to go back and deal with that, you can just go to your table, click on it so you get this, yeah, and then border 0, and it will sort that out. So it's really not any more complicated than that, and it's the same for embedding media content, so you can embed video, etc., etc. But it doesn't need to be any more complicated when you're making a website. What I'll do is I'll upload a template, if you like, based on this to StudyDirect, which is free for you to use, and I'll show you other templates that you can use in a minute, which are there as well. But just finally, if you'd done a really mega website and you wanted to upload it, final point, and you will upload your websites in this course, so I'll give you instructions on how to do that near the time as well. You'll notice in our file panel here, there's some little buttons just above where you are. And I'll just put this out here so you can see. Essentially, you've got your local site, which we've linked to, and you'll see here there's local view. If you click on the local view arrow, you'll see there's a remote server, and so it'll allow you to make this site on a server and upload it. And then just below you'll see there's a little plug option that basically says connect to server, refresh server, and then the down arrow is download content so you can edit it, and then there's an upload, you can upload local stuff. So what happens if you buy some web space, it's really cheap. They'll take your money obviously and then they'll send you some login details, just like any other login details for a server, with a domain name. You buy a domain name as well, and then you can just log into that and upload your content to that server space, and then it's live on the web. So you can just press this button, it'll log in, and then if you go to remote view, it can show you what's on your server and you can upload your content to it. I'll show you how to put those details in nearer the time, but it's all available from here. And so we call this a file transfer client. And so if you ever heard FTP, it's based on that. It's a file transfer mechanism for transferring files to a server. Fetch, yes. Yeah, if you don't have Dreamweaver and you want to do it free, yeah, Fetch is a really good free transfer app. And there are a couple of others. There's another one called Transmit, which was for Apple only, which was free. But yeah, we've got some web space, and you'll do that aspect nearer the time for submission. So, okay, any questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the navigation panel, you have this whole that we can make more like link 1 or page 2. Like how do if I had so page 2 I guess would be a completely different site, right? A completely different like thing.
Yeah.
And how do I link between those?
Link between pages.
Yeah, do we do that in
sites? Yeah. Okay, so let's do it. Okay, so yeah, I'll show you.
I think I've done that one.
So when you're clicking on here, so this is your navigation, you'll see in your properties inspector there's a link option. If you want to link to another page in your site, so let's link to the index page that Andrew made, you can just select that within your local folder. So we're just linking to this one, and then if you preview, oh god, why won't it let me do that? Preview in Safari. And so now if you click it, it'll go to that page, which is nice, isn't it? And the same thing applies. So if you've got an external link, let's just say you want to click to that, instead of putting index, you'd put http:// and then the URL for an external site. So if we say google.com, you could do that. Let's Dreamweaver gone. So so save that, preview. So yeah, it's really easy to just change that and manipulate it in your property inspector, and it will write the code for you.
This is a good one.
Oh yeah.
I want to link that button to that page. Oh, it's done it.
Yeah.
That's my favourite.
You like that? Tracing threads.
Yeah. So there's a few ways. Paul's skin in a cat ways.
Yeah. Don't listen to me. I do it the long way sometimes. I do it my way. Another really essential thing to be aware of is when people think, oh, I've got to do a 5-page website, they think I've got to design 5 separate things. I'm thinking, I'm getting the feeling that you're not thinking that. You seem to be an intelligent bunch. design the template once. So we've designed page 2 perfectly without any content.
Index is designed perfectly.
Index is designed perfectly, so let's open index without the code because that's messy. And then just go file, save as, and voila, page 3. Not that page 3.
So explicit.
No. Page 4. So all you do is you design the kind of shell. This is really important, the shell for it all to fit in. And that gives you a nice unified, cohesive design, something we're always banging on about. And then you just populate it with different stuff and away you go. So do once and reuse. Really important. Okay, finally. So if you don't want to do any of that and you just want to do something quick and easy, you'll notice when you do a new, there's HTML. And then you've got these layouts. These are all different templates, if you like. If you click one of those, it will give you a kind of preview of what it is here. So 3-column fixed with a header. Click Create. That's a template, and you can just take all this content out and populate it with your own, and then change the colors as you want to. So Adobe provide these for you to use. And they're web standard ones, so these things do things like resize when you resize the, not this one, obviously, because that's the one I'm thinking of. It's just centered, but the liquid ones will kind of resize. We can do that quite easily, but that's really for another course. We don't expect you to do that for this, but those are all options open to you if you want to. From my personal experience, I've used these and editing them to make them look the way you want is a headache, because you have to go into the CSS and it's named by someone else, and it is a lot of it isn't as easy as it seems. So try it, but if you don't get along with it, don't worry. Okay, any other questions? Great.